Good number of people were present and had regular sittings with Silver Birch, where he gave them encouragement, guidance. Even two little children visited regularly around Christmas time with their list of questions that Silver Birch answered magnificently in simple terms that they could fully understand. And you can read all about that in the books.
Today, I'm super excited to have my old dear friend back, Nic Whitem. Nic and I, oh my gosh, it was so many years ago. It was probably 6 or 7. Seems like it's been a million years. Went to London, so scared, so in grief, so to go to this physical mediumship thing that I didn't know what I was getting it was storming. I had these red rain boots on. I just remember meeting you, Nic, and like everything seemed to be just fine. So it's wonderful, wonderful to see you again. And thank you for taking care of me. When I was at Banyan Ranch, that time it was a
Al-
difficult time
Always a
in my
pleasure.
life. Yeah, thank you.
Always a pleasure, and it's lovely for you to invite me back, and lovely to chat to catch up on what's been happening since we met so many years ago.
Yes.
Um, it's
Yeah,
it's a lovely opportunity. Thank you.
you're very welcome. So, Nic was born into a family of healers. He's had a keen interest in healing for most of his life. Under advice from the spirit world, Nic was told to go out and live the early years of his life as best he could and experience what the world has to offer, because later he would be working for the spirit world. Traveling all around the world with an international finance company, Nic was very successful in the technology sector at banking and retired from this in 2006. He then went on to open a holistic therapy retreat and a spiritual center in Kent in the UK. This was a successful venture, attracting people from all over the world to experience different healing treatment modalities and many forms of mediumship. The retreat closed in 2021 after COVID, and Nic retired to the north of England, where he now spends much of his time surrounding and supporting a charity which is very close to his heart, the Spiritual Truth Foundation, which we're going to talk about today. In recent months, he has been working exceptionally hard to make available an audio and ebook from the timeless philosophy of Silver Birch. This philosophy was delivered through the mediumship of Maurice Barbanel, who was one of the founding members of the Spiritual Truth Foundation and editor of Psychic News for most of his life. Welcome back to the program, Nic.
Thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure
Yeah,
to be here.
yes. And for my listeners, I really encourage you. I've interviewed Nic before, and we've talked a lot about his life and his healings and some just fascinating stories. So I really encourage you to go back. It was probably 2 or 3 years ago, but go back and listen to that. Actually, I'm going to repost that for people too. That's a really good idea. I'm going to do that. So
Thank you.
anyway, so before we talk about the spiritual truth, well, I know it's about Silver Birch. Who is Silver Birch, and how did you get involved in this area of work?
It really goes back. It really goes back to my childhood. I was born into a family of healers, as you mentioned.
Hmm.
My father was a trance healer. My mother was a Reiki healer, and healing was kind of all around me when I was young, as were trance mediums. And I was familiar with trance healing and trance work, but not so much the philosophy. And I moved to London, and I started working in the city. And on my lunch breaks, I would go up to a little bookshop that was close to the museum. And in fact, the bookshop was opposite the British Museum. And I got very friendly with the gentleman who managed the shop there, and each week I would buy one of Silver Birch's books, and I spend the week reading it, and couldn't wait for the next week to come around when I could go and get another one. which I did, and I read all the available books at that time. And Silver Birch really gave me my foundation level of understanding of this world, the spirit world, how the two work together, and about life, really. Silver Birch covers so many topics in very easy to understand, very simple English. And it's always been the foundation of my knowledge. There are a couple of things that we kind of don't agree on, um, but that's there are people who disagree in the spirit world about different aspects of life and understanding. And my philosophy has always been, if something doesn't resonate with you, you don't dismiss it. You kind of put it just to one side, because as you go through life, something will come along where you will maybe have an opportunity to see where that piece of information fits into the puzzle of life and the world that awaits us all. So yes, that was really my introduction. That was how I got to know about Silver Birch, and always throughout most of the years of my life since then, I've always referred back to the various books and his philosophy.
It's so interesting because I've had that happen many times where someone we disagree on something possibly or just have different ideas about it, and then something happens and I understand, I get it's even happened with my being brought up, Christian, and then diving into spiritual work. And it's really fascinating just keeping an open heart, and you just never really, so it's so important to see each other's perspectives. So Silver Birch is he is channeled or through a medium, correct? And so these books were written, well, sort of by Silver Birch, but also by I'm sorry, Mr. Barnabel. Is that who it was again?
Barbanel, Morris Barbanel. Yeah,
Yes.
Morris Barbanel was he was born into a Jewish family in the East End of London. His mother was devoutly religious, and his father wasn't. His father was a bit of an atheist or an agnostic, and um, Morris Barbanel, kind of took the same route as his father.
Hmm.
Um, he was very much
Sorry here.
uh, to the publishing world and the writers world, and he chaired meetings, and at one of those meetings, somebody came along to speak about healing and mediumship, and uh, he from that meeting he was invited to attend a sitting with a medium in London, a Mrs. Blaustein, and he thought on his second visit that he'd fallen asleep, but he'd actually been in trance, and Silver Birch had spoken through him and introduced himself. And after the sitting was finished, he apologized to everybody and thought that he must have been working too hard and was a little bit sleepy, and
Right.
but that wasn't the case, and that was really the start of his work, along with a very well-known Fleet Street journalist at that time, Hannah Swaffer. Together, Swaffer encouraged him to start Psychic News, which is still going today. There are other publications, The Two Worlds, that he was editor of, and covered many different topics across that time. Of course, mediumship and spiritualism was far more interesting than perhaps it is today. In those times, um, there was far more happening in that environment um, than perhaps we acknowledge or hear about today. Some of the great pioneers uh, of that movement were born and operating within his lifetime. He was friendly with many of them. He was also a member of Estelle Roberts' home circle, he and his
Yes.
wife. Estelle Roberts, one of the finest mediums that the UK has ever seen.
I read a beautiful book on her. I'm going to put that in the show notes. It was just so kind of mind-blowing, just fascinating. Yeah.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So yes, after that initial trance session with Mrs. Blaustein, um, they started their own circle, and Silver Birch communicated pretty much every week for many, many years. Um, his Barbanel's secretary was cornered off behind a curtain in part of the room, and she used to write everything down in shorthand.
Interesting.
And fascinating. And the following day, it would all be typed up, and the rest of the sitters or the circle would agree what had been typed up. It was printed in Two Worlds magazine, and after that, the originals were destroyed, basically. Um, but we have a record of everything that was said through Two Worlds and through the many books that have been compiled from those weekly records. Silver Birch spoke and encouraged many, many people, the likes of Harry Edwards, Helen Hughes, Parrish. A good number of people were present and had regular sit-ins with Silver Birch, where he gave them encouragement, guidance. Even two little children visited regularly around Christmas time with their list of questions that Silver Birch answered magnificently in simple terms that they could fully understand. And you can read all about that in the books.
Yes. And what books would you, well, first of all, I want to back up a little bit. So some of my listeners are probably like, what is he talking about? Like, and just explain a little bit about Silver Birch being in the higher world and being a spirit to here to be, for our guidance and brings love and, just how that kind of works and what, yeah, so where can people go maybe in the beginning to read the first few books? Because as I mentioned before we hit the record button, I have 3 or 4 of the little books sitting by my table side, my bedside, and it it just is so thought provoking and really helps just, get along in this life.
There are probably three really popular books. They would be the Teachings of Silver Birch, um, Silver Birch Question and Answers, and Guidance from Silver Birch. They're probably the three better known ones, but by no means are they necessarily the best. They're just the more popular ones.
Right, right.
There is something in every one of those books that you will pick up on, you will understand. Some things are repeated in different books because he will quite often put things across in a different way at a different
Mhm.
sitting. So different topics are covered in different ways. But yeah, I would say that I wouldn't be too concerned about having a place to start. All of
Right,
them
right.
will, all of them will, you will benefit from reading any one of them.
Yeah.
And I've read them all several times over the past 12 months with my new little project. And I've listened to all that Silver Birch has said in those books many, many times.
Yeah.
And every time you listen, you pick up on something new that you perhaps didn't quite fully appreciate the first time you listened to it.
Right. So you
But
say listen, are there recordings also of these
sorry, that
seances? Yeah.
there are no actual recordings of the sittings, but what we've done in recent months is we've taken all the books, not just the Silver Birch books, the other books that were written by Barbanel and his wife Sylvia, and we've put them all into an app that you can subscribe to, and when you subscribe, you have access to all the books,
Right.
and they're available in audiobook or they're available in ebook format.
Oh,
So
audio. Oh, that's
you can
great.
you can choose you can read them in ebook fashion if you like to sit and read, and if you don't, you can just put your earphones in and you can listen to them.
Right.
It's been a 12-month project that the whole team has come together onto, all the trustees of the Spiritual Truth Foundation. And we've been using AI as the voice because we couldn't find the perfect voice.
Right.
Now, as soon as I say that, that will conjure up those mechanical voices, and it certainly isn't that at all.
Mhm.
We've searched high and low, and we went to some pretty interesting providers of AI, and we have a very natural sounding voice that's very comfortable on the ears, and it's a pleasure to listen to.
Yeah, I'm so excited because when I went on to get my little books, it's not like you can get them on Amazon. I mean, I had to go through somewhere to get them. So, or at least I don't think when I got them, you couldn't. So this is very exciting. So Nic, tell us, so you've dedicated your life after, your finance career, very successful career, to the spirit world and healing and this like just incredible journey. The last 12 months, you've embarked on this. Some people would say sort of the same, but how has it reignited or just changed your life in these last 12 months? Yeah, just by revisiting all these beautiful, books and Silver Birch's teachings.
As I mentioned before, whenever you listen to Silver Birch, there are always new things that you can learn. I find some of what he says quite challenging. He speaks very confidently about reincarnation and different
Mm,
topics of that nature, which I have difficulty fully accepting. Um, and it's good when you listen to them again to make sure you've got his perspective on things,
right.
and you also pass them through your own mind and re revisit how they actually fit into your beliefs.
Right, right.
So from that perspective, it's been a challenge in some areas, but also it's great to absorb that knowledge, because you always, in the course of day-to-day life, you come across people who ask you questions, and who are in need of a greater understanding in some areas of life. And it's nice to be able to share your own perspective, and also to be able to share Silver Birch's explanation of things as well.
Right. Oh, that's beautiful. So tell me when these children, if you remember some of the questions they ask and some of the answers that were returned, because this sort of, even if you're not really into this, and you're kind of like iffy about it, it's almost, and I mean, nothing, I don't want to insult Silver Birch in any way because it's so profound, but I'm just trying to draw a thread here with, just people out there in the world. It's kind of like getting a meditation book or a book from, something that makes you really think deeply and look in your heart and helps you be a light in the world every day. Not to mention that trigger kind of your academic mind, or what your beliefs really are. But it's even a million times more profound, than picking up another book. So I I mean, I'm not here to like sell the audiobook, but it just helps in so many ways. So can you tell us a little bit about the kids if you remember?
I can't remember any of the specific questions they
Right,
are.
right.
But it was a little boy and a little girl, and I believe they were around the age of 9 or 10.
Uh,
I think it was I think they probably first visited Silver Birch when they were probably 7 or 8, and they continued for a few years. And
wow.
they always came with a set of questions. In the books, there's details of the questions that they ask and the responses that Silver Birch gave. And on one occasion or a couple of occasions, Silver Birch actually said that he was impressed with the questions that they brought to him. Um, they were son and daughter of somebody who was relatively close to Barbanel, I believe.
Mm,
I really can't remember the exact details. I've been through probably about 20 odd books over the past 12 months and listened to them all. So there's different snippets from different books. Um, but I do remember that they visited a number of times, and Silver Birch was very impressed with the questions that they asked.
nice. So,
Now, earlier,
go
sorry,
ahead.
earlier you asked me about Silver Birch himself, and
Yes,
we kind of went off track a
right,
little
right.
bit. Um, but Silver Birch was asked by people who are a little more enlightened than he was if he would accept the mission to come back to visit the people of Earth and offer them guidance and support. And he was quite an evolved spirit. Now, I'm going to explain this in my terms, that kind of supported by what he has to say. When we when we leave the physical plane and we go to the spirit world, we're in a plane of understanding where things are very similar to the way they are here on Earth. And as we evolve, we I don't want to say we die again, but we shed another coat. Whereas we shed the physical body when we leave the earth and we go to the spirit world, we use the etheric body. We shed another body as we go through the various vibrations of life, if you like. And he was quite evolved, and he left behind several of these bodies, and he used the etheric body of a Native American Indian to come back and to communicate to the earth. Now, he wasn't he wasn't a Native American um, person. He was evolved. He didn't speak English. He had to work with people in the spirit world to understand and to master the English language,
Mm,
and eventually managed to come back and speak through Barbanel. Um, but that wasn't the persona that he used wasn't his own natural. He moved beyond that, if that makes sense.
yeah, yeah, interesting. So what you're saying when you say come back to the earth, you mean he's in kind of in that second realm, like where we pass into, and then we shed that second coat, but he came back into kind of that first.
In somebody else's second coat, he
Yes.
borrowed, if you think of it as an overcoat, if you
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
and he
yeah.
borrowed that from somebody who was um, of that
Right.
ethnicity. So yes, and that Silver Birch was actually drawn, or the persona that he used was actually drawn by somebody called Marcel Pontin, and that's the very familiar image that we see on most of the Silver Birch books, and anything in connection
Mm,
with Silver Birch. That's generally the image, but that wasn't who he really was. We don't know who he really was, other than a highly evolved soul
right.
who'd offered to come back and to help
Mm,
people of the earth. And of
So,
course, that was a time when there was a great need. It was during the war. There was lots of bereavement and not quite the same understanding that we have today. There was a great need for that communication.
right. Right. So, Nic, you've been involved in this, not involved even, like you jumped in the pool a long, long time ago. And does this, I don't know, it's just it's so interesting. I do believe, and I'd like to get your perspective on this, that we do decide on many of our lessons that we want to learn and choosing our parents and, not only the lessons, but the life that we are going to live. And why do you think it's just being born in the healing world, or because you probably is your group of friends like totally into all of this, or is this something that you do and then you have this sort of other, other life? Because that's the way my world is.
There are a good number of I guess my closer friends are very much into into this way of life and have a better understanding of it. But
Right,
it's not the entirety of my friends. No, no.
right, right.
There are lots of others. Um, yeah.
Yeah, I guess you just are so, you don't seem, I have a knowing that you're just highly evolved, and you may not feel that way, but just speaking to you, I know you're shaking your head, but really you are.
I think I'm just fortunate enough to have been to had exposure to people and the likes of Silver Birch who have a greater understanding of life that they've shared with me.
Right, right. Yeah.
I'm just fortunate enough to have been in that position.
Mhm.
I was most of my most of my family on my mother's side are part of what's called the New Jerusalem Church, and they follow the teachings of Emanuel Swedenborg
I love him. I love his teachings.
and also the Bible. And I spent most of my childhood in Sunday schools, in churches, and going for summer um, church holidays and that sort of thing. But it never satisfied my curiosity. I always wanted more. And I knew there was more. I had this inner knowing that there was more that I had to go and find.
Right,
My
right.
grandfather, my aunts and uncles are all significant figures within the church, but it wasn't enough for me. I
Yeah.
knew there was something else. And my parents, very much into mediumship and spiritualism, opened that doorway for me. And I'll be forever grateful to them for doing that. But coming to London and finding the Silver Birch books and continuing that journey was such a revelation for me because it was giving me all those answers that I knew were out there, but
Right.
had never been able to get my hands on.
Yeah.
The church never provided that. In fact, if anything, they put them out of reach.
Right.
And Silver Birch emphasizes that a good number of times. He says that things that should be within the grasp and understanding of mankind are put outside of their reach. So yeah,
Interesting. So this is just let the listeners, this is not religion at all. I mean, I know it's a spiritualist, but it's not, it's really about being a light in the world and living, which brings me to my next question. How do you feel that if more people, and let's talk about our children, this younger generation, if more were introduced to this at a young age, and it doesn't have to be, it can just be the teachings and what you learn and how to think about life. How do you think that could change the world?
it would have such an enormous impact because we live in a very materialistic world, greed and those aspects of life are all around us for everybody to see and quite often get blinkered by. And the other aspects of life are not in any way as accessible for children. And I think it's hugely important that they get a footing in life with an understanding that there's far more to life than what we experience in the few years that we live in the physical world.
Mm.
And having a greater understanding of people who surround us from the spirit world, who guide and hold our hands, even though we don't see them. Um, and so I have heard stories recently from different uh, friends where grandchildren are beginning to see um, people from the spirit world. And fortunate enough, their parents and their grandparents have enough understanding to encourage it rather than to discourage it. And I'm really hopeful that that will continue to open and to manifest in the way it's doing now. And that who knows, hopefully in the fullness of time, they'll share that with their friends, and that understanding will grow to the younger generations. I think some of Silver Birch's teachings, um, Silver Birch goes into a great level of detail. So I think if you were to introduce children to Silver Birch, um, it would need to be with selective passages and teachings
Yes,
that
yes.
he brought, so that they can grasp it, and hopefully that might just be enough for them to have a greater interest to pursue that and read some of the other books that are available.
Right.
But you've given me a thought now for another little book that we could um, consider, aimed specifically at children to try and introduce them to that greater understanding and knowledge that's available.
I was just thinking the exact same thing. I'm writing some little books right now for children, and it has to do with the spirit world. And as I told you, I'm working in equine therapy, and I'm having such a wonderful time doing that. And I would love to be a part of that if there's any interest. So we need to wrap it up, but I have a question. Can you, I know this is a big question, but what are some of the things recently, just think in the last few weeks, that you've read or reread, or something you had kind of forgotten, that has just to give listeners an idea of some of the things that you read that have such a profound impact on you? Can you share a few things with us?
Yeah, as I mentioned, as I mentioned, and we've not only taken the Silver Birch books and put them into our app an ebook and an audio book. We've also done that with Barbanell's books, Sylvia Barbanell and Maurice Barbanell's.
Oh, okay.
Now, Sylvia Barbanell she wrote two books. One was When Your Child Dies, and the other one was When Your Animal Dies. Now, one of the things that really piqued my interest was it was actually chapter 18 of When Your Animal Dies.
Mhm.
And it's about the evolution of animals and mankind, and the impact that mankind has on the evolution of the animals. For example, dogs, because dogs and cats, we invite them into our home, and how we're having such a profound impact primarily on the evolution of dogs. Cats is there too, but dogs was the predominant ones, and some of Silver Birch's teachings, when he goes in on to explain how that impacts their evolution, is really quite profound. It's one of the most interesting chapters that I've read in a very long time. In fact,
Interesting.
I've been back to it a couple of times just to make sure I fully absorb everything that's in there.
Right. I have
So
my
yeah,
two dogs here right now. You probably see me petting one of them. She's nudging me like, let's get out for that walk. Um, so what can you expand on that a little bit? I didn't quite understand the evolution of the animal. Can you expand on the teaching and what was so profound for you?
it was the impact of our treatment of the dogs,
Right, right. Okay.
how we teach them love, how we teach them trust, and
Mhm.
how that helps the dog, um, the dog family, or the dog spirit entities, if you like. It obviously happens with other animals, and he says some animals will never evolve fully because they were never designed
To do that.
to do that. But the impacts that we've had on really bringing the dog spirit world, if you like, much closer to ours, as is quite profound.
Mhm.
Does that
Well,
does that
yes,
make
that
more
makes so
sense?
much sense. And the impact not only, and I know you know this, I've met your doggies, or I did a while ago. The impact they have on us. I mean, every night I just get teary thinking about anything. I'm getting goosebumps, anything ever happening to my, and I let them know every day, every night how much I love them and how grateful I am because they really teach us wonderful lessons too. So I can't wait to read that chapter.
Oh,
So
you'll love it, and you'll get some.
yeah, oh my
Um,
gosh.
unfor Unfortunately, we lost the last of our German shepherds probably
Oh, I'm
about a
so
month ago.
sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, he was 13, so he
Yeah.
had a good life, and
Yeah.
it was
And
just,
he's in a good place. Yeah.
absolutely,
I
absolutely.
remember them well. So, download the Silver Birch app. Do you just go to the App Store and download Silver Birch app, or how does it work?
Okay, you need to set up subscriptions first. So
Okay.
you need to go to the Spiritual Truth Foundation
Oh,
website,
okay.
and you won't miss the links there. There's many of them. It's quite obvious where to go. Click on any of the links. You can subscribe for a month, 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, or you can subscribe for 5 years. And it doesn't matter which subscription you take, you have access to all the books. And then you head over to the App Store. Now, there are many different ways to access it. If you have Android, you can go to the Play Store. If you have an iPhone, you go to the App Store.
Mhm.
Um, it's also very shortly, hopefully within the next couple of weeks, there's going to be a desktop app for Mac and the desktop app for Windows. If none of those are available for you, you can just use a regular browser. Excuse me, there's a link to a regular browser. You put in the email that you use to purchase a subscription, and they will email a code to that email address that you enter into the app, and it gives you access. All the books are available. You have to click on the ones that you want, and it will download them to your device. And once it's downloaded to your device, you can use them anywhere in the world, even if you're on a flight or you're
Oh,
if you're in Timbuktu with no internet connection. As long as you downloaded them with the connection,
right.
you'll have access to it. I can try and show you if you like on my phone here. I'm not sure how well it will come out, but we can have a little try.
So is there also the opportunity to listen, put them on your audio books also? Where is
It's
that option?
No, it's all within the app.
It's all within
When
the app. Okay, great,
Yeah,
great. Yeah,
when you go into the app, I'm not, you may or may not be able to see that, but it will
I
show
see it a
you
little bit. Yeah.
recently added ebooks, recently added
Okay,
audio books, and if I tap on one of the audio books,
got it.
I can tap listen.
Techno Technology. Got it. Yeah. So you don't even have to go like through Audible or anything like that. It just kind
Nope.
of does it. Okay.
It's all within the app.
Right.
And as I mentioned, all the books are in there. We're in the process of introducing three new books that have been out of print for many years. I think hopefully within the next 2 weeks, we'll have those additional books available on there as well.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
All you need is a subscription for whatever period of time you choose, 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, a year, 5 years.
Yeah. It's nice that you can do a month and kind of see what, see what you think.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I recommend that.
Right.
Take
Right.
a month and see if it's for you or not.
Right. Right. Well, it's been wonderful to have you back. Is there anything else that you would like any words of wisdom or to close our time together?
Oh, goodness. I hadn't thought about that. Um, I'm going to leave all the wisdom and philosophy to Silver Birch. I
Okay,
hope,
great.
I hope that you'll try the Silver Birch chat because I think after you listen to one or two of the books or the paragraphs, you'll realize how beneficial it can be.
Mhm.
And although the communication was given back in the I guess 40s, 50s, 60s, right through till the probably the 80s, but it is as relevant today as it was when it was given. It really is ageless, timeless, and it is life enhancing.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
really
I'm very
is.
excited. Well, thank you so much. And if people want to find you, what now do you have the Banyan Retreat? Is that still a website? I meant to go on that. I just went on the Spiritual Truth Foundation.
The Banyan Retreat website is still there. It doesn't do very much, but when we have our courses available that are coming up later in the year in Florida and in New York, New Jersey area, they will definitely be on there.
Okay.
And you can join the Facebook group for the Spiritual Truth Foundation, and you can also join the group for Banyan Retreat. You'll see all the upcoming information on those sites. For the Spiritual Truth Foundation, only anything that's related to Silver Birch. But for the workshops and things, they will definitely be on Banyan Retreat events on Facebook.
Wonderful. And that will all be in the show notes for listeners.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you
It's
so
lovely to
much.
catch up.
It's lovely to catch up. Take good care and give my love to Stephen.
I will do. I will
Okay.
do. Thank you.